The most ridiculous fashion trends of all time. Codpieces. The codpiece is an interesting accessory that became popular in the 1500s. It was a piece of padded cloth affixed to the groin area. It was usually tied, stitched, or buttoned in place. Functionally, it concealed and protected this delicate zone from whatever dangers the world threw at it, be it rocks, tomatoes, or an angry chicken. Eventually, the codpiece developed into something else. By the 16th century, it was used to exaggerate a person's package because that's obviously what the women wanted. The codpiece would be adorned with intricate decorations and, no pun intended, precious jewels. Codpieces were considered attractive and accentuated a person's manhood. Just look at this portrait of Henry VIII that just exudes masculinity.
Hey, you like what you see? Hey, lady. Wait, Mom?
Hey, Junior, you call that a codpiece? Now these are codpieces.
But you made me this codpiece.
Go home.
People would eventually realize that codpieces were stupid, and they fell out of fashion by the late 1500s. Arsenic skin clearing solution. What would you be willing to do for white and fairer skin? Is it scrubbing when you bathe? Putting on sunscreen before you play on the beach? Or do you ingest small amounts of poisonous arsenic? Arsenic, when in its inorganic form, is very dangerous when consumed. In 1890, Dr. James P. Campbell created and sold arsenic complexion whitening wafers. He promised young women that this was a safe method of removing blemishes on their skin.
Okay, Mary, all you've got to do is ingest this little harmless wafer, and your skin will be flawless in no time.
I don't know about this. Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Not any different than before.
To the surprise of no one, the long-term effects of eating arsenic would only worsen any prevailing skin issues. Side effects such as hyperpigmentation and dark blots on the skin were common. As science advanced and when people realized that slowly poisoning yourself for slightly lighter skin wasn't worth it, the use of arsenic and similar cosmetics fell out of use. French poof. Marie Antoinette was known for many things. She was the last queen consort of France during the violent French Revolution. She was infamously misattributed to have said, "Let them eat cake." She stole the show at the Paris Olympics. But what Marie Antoinette was also known for was her fashion sense. The Duchesse de Chartres first debuted the hairstyle in April 1774. It was an imposing tower of hair propped up by 14 yards of gauze, adorned with two figures of her newborn child and African boy, a parrot and a plate of fresh cherries. But it was Marie Antoinette who popularized the hairstyle among the French nobility. With the help of famed hairdresser Léonard Hauty, Marie sported a bejeweled poof during the coronation of herself and her husband Louis XVI. The hairstyle caught on like wildfire, and high society women began putting stranger things inside their hair. Things from small animals, feathers, pearls, and ornaments adorned their hairstyles, which showcased their personalities and moods.
Look, I said I was sorry.
And I said I forgive you.
So why are you still angry at me?
I'm not angry at you.
Yes, you are.
And how would you know that?
Because your monkey is pointing a gun at me.
Other prominent individuals like Queen Charlotte and Georgina Cavendish would also wear this popular hairstyle. As the 18th century ended and Marie Antoinette's head sat in a basket, the hairstyle faded from popularity. Elongated neck rings.
Yeah, it's amazing how evolution granted us long necks so we wouldn't have to compete with any other animals for these hard-to-reach plants and leaves.
Yeah, we'll never go hungry up here.
Awesome. Hey, pass the salad sauce.
Yeah, sure. Hey, where'd all the leaves go?
I thought you were done.
Neck rings are worn by a small number of cultures around the world. The most prominent patrons of this fashion style are the Kayan tribeswomen and the Ndebele people of South Africa. However, neck rings do not elongate the neck. They simply push the woman's collarbone down, giving the illusion of a longer, slender neck. In the case of the Kayan people, the reason why they wear neck rings is debated. Some contend that they are meant to make their women unattractive to rival tribes. Others say that it enhances their beauty and grace. Those afraid of tigers say that it helps defend their necks from tiger attacks. Whatever the case, their interesting use of neck rings makes the tribe a popular tourist destination for those visiting Thailand. The true reason why they began wearing them seems to have been lost to the ages. On the other hand, Ndebele people of South Africa use their neck rings as symbols of wealth and prestige. Aside from the neck, these rings are also worn on their wrists, feet, and other parts of the body. They are traditionally given to them by their husbands and are not removed until the husband dies. Teeth blackening.
All right, Himiko, let's get a look at those pearly whites. Oh, dear Lord, it's what my forefathers warned me about.
Teeth blackening is practiced in many Southeast Asian cultures, but in Japan, it's known as ohaguro. The practice dates back as early as the Kofun period, which is roughly around 300 to 500 CE. This is proven through small miniatures called haniwa, which portrayed this unique fashion sense. This persisted well into the 13th century thanks to the classic folk story, The Tale of Genji. The reason why blackened teeth were popular is because, just like today, anything black is considered stylish. Black teeth were achieved by using a solution called kanemizu, consisting of iron fillings, vinegar, and some plant fibers. They were often used to denote that someone had come of age, because nothing says adulthood like entering your goth or emo phase. By the time of the Heian period, during the 8th to 12th centuries, even adults and aristocrats were showing off their jet black teeth. They didn't know that they'd be laughed out of a French opera house. In the Edo period, ohaguro became popular with wealthy young women and geisha. Westerners visiting the country were understandably appalled when they saw hundreds of young adults with blackened teeth. They must have thought that they'd all lost their mind.
I, John Jones, have finally fulfilled my wish of visiting the Far East. Now, let's see what Japan has to offer. Sushi. Pretty cool. Samurai swords. Very interesting. A tiny robot that follows you around with cupcakes? Marvelous. What in the world is that? Dear Lord, these poor people must have no access to dentistry. I'll make it my life's mission to ensure that they get the proper care they need. On the other hand, I'll just leave it to my descendants instead.
The Meiji Restoration resulted in the practice being banned by the government, but it can still be seen today in the older districts of Tokyo. Hermit on the estate. When someone obtains an obscene amount of money, the first thought is usually one of two things. You either buy a yacht or put all your money on black and double it. Between 17th and 19th century England, garden hermits were the must-buy attraction for the extremely wealthy. You see, as landowners became increasingly clueless as to how to spend their money, it became fashionable to be sad and emotionally deep. The solution? To hire a random hobo to live on your gardens. Landowners began putting wanted ads on newspapers to attract anyone who would be willing to live on their estate. One such ad from one Charles Hamilton detailed that the garden hermit was to live simply. They would be given housing, food, water, and a Bible. But they were not allowed to cut their hair, beard, or nails. They were also forbidden from showering. The novelty of having a wife's homeless man on one's estate was fascinating to Europe's high society.
Okay, I've got you on contract to live in this dingy shed for 7 years. Don't talk to anyone. Just be the quiet, mysterious type. If you leave before your 7 years are up, I won't have to pay you anything. I have to pay off my gambling debt somehow. It was either this or a job at McDonald's. All right, I'll leave you to it. But just remember,
You're not allowed to leave the grounds for 7 years.
Man, I'm bored. I think I'm gonna go get a drink.
Like with all things, fashions change. As landscaping practices and techniques developed, having a dirty hobo on your estate quickly fell out of style. Their jobs were ironically taken over by the robots of their times, garden gnomes. See, it's always been this way. Chinese foot binding. The exact origin of Chinese foot binding is a messy one. There are dozens of conflicting origin stories, but it is generally agreed to have persisted for centuries since at least the 9th or 10th century. It was thought that tiny feet were the pinnacle of femininity and beauty. Thus, the Chinese at the time did the only logical thing in this situation: irreversibly damage a woman's feet. The practice first began on young girls who were between 4 to 6 years old. The girls' feet were gradually bound over several decades. Their 4 smaller toes were tucked underneath the foot, then bound. The bandages and gauze were periodically removed for cleaning, then bound again. This lengthy process often caused paralysis, gangrene, and, in rare cases, death. The goal was to reach the golden lotus length of 3 inches, which, ironically enough, was very rarely met. The closer a woman's feet were to the golden lotus length, the more prestigious their husband could be.
Whoever wins this race, I shall make my bride.
On your marks, get set, go!
Foot binding caused irreversible damage to the women's feet. It severely limited their ability to walk and perform manual labor. Special footwear known as lotus shoes were used to house their disformed, shrunken feet. In rural areas, foot binding was only performed when the girl was older, as they needed more help around the house, and having chicken feet wouldn't help. When they were married off, the bindings were removed. There was little chance to escape this fate. This practice continued for centuries until it was banned in 1949, and it was about time too.